All right, let's get right into this explainer on the option trial. If you are managing acute stroke, you really need to hear this data. It literally carries practice-changing potential for late-window ischemic stroke management. For years, extending that time window has been the holy grail of stroke neurology, but we've had this glaring gap for a huge chunk of our patients.
So that brings us to the core clinical question. We already know endovascular thrombectomy works wonders for large vessel occlusions. But what about the non-LVOs, those medium and distal occlusions beyond the 4.5-hour mark? Honestly, our options there have been pretty bleak. Up until now, direct comparisons of IV thrombolysis versus standard medical management for these specific patients have been incredibly scarce.
The option trial design. This was a rigorous, multi-center, randomized clinical trial run across 48 centers in China.
Now, patient selection is absolutely crucial here because this is where the rubber meets the road at the bedside. They focused on patients 4.5 to 24 hours from last known well, strictly excluding major proximal LVOs. Patients needed a baseline NIHSS of 6 to 25 or 4 to 5 with a disabling deficit. But here is the kicker. They absolutely required a target mismatch profile on CTP. You had to prove without a doubt that salvageable tissue was actually there.
The setup was super straightforward. It was a 1-to-1 randomization. The intervention arm got the standard 0.25 milligrams per kilogram bolus of LVO TNK teplase, capped at 25 milligrams. The control arm? Just standard medical care, which mostly meant antiplatelet therapy.
Efficacy and functional outcomes. Let's dig right into the 90-day modified Rankin scale scores. When evaluating the MRS distribution, there is this beautiful, undeniable shift toward excellent outcomes. The proportion of patients landing in those highly favorable MRS categories expanded dramatically in the tenecteplase group compared to standard care. It's a robust, incredibly meaningful shift.
Getting right down to the primary outcome metric, an MRS of 0 to 1 at 90 days. We're talking no significant disability, right? We saw 43.6% hit this mark in the TNK arm. Compare that to just 34.2% in the standard treatment group. That is almost a 10% absolute risk difference.
And that translates to a statistically significant risk ratio of 1.28 for excellent outcomes with the p-value of 0.02. It's a massive efficacy signal for tenecteplase in this extended, non-LVO window. The takeaway is crystal clear. If the brain tissue is salvageable, the lytic does its job. Okay, so here is the absolute bottom line. The number needed to treat to achieve one additional excellent functional outcome is just 11. I mean, in the world of acute stroke neurology, an NNT of 11 is highly, highly compelling. Safety and hemorrhage risk profile. We definitely can't talk about lytics without addressing the elephant in the room, bleeding. We have to tackle the absolute risk increase head-on. Symptomatic intracranial hemorrhage within 36 hours hit 2.8% in the tenecteplase group, and the standard medical treatment group, exactly 0%. It's statistically significant, and frankly, it's the expected physiological tax we pay for late window lysis.
But while symptomatic ICH was definitely higher, we also have to look at the 90-day mortality. It was 5.0% for TNK and 3.2% for standard treatment. Crucially, the p-value was 0.28, meaning that mortality difference did not reach statistical significance.
Clinical implications in practice. How does this actually change things when your stroke pager goes off at 2 a.m.? Well, extending the window is definitely viable for non-LVO strokes now, but, and this is a massive but, you cannot do this blind. It absolutely mandates advanced CTP imaging to confirm that penumbra. Plus, you've got to have a very strict shared risk-reward conversation about that symptomatic bleeding risk. You're offering a fantastic shot at recovery, but you're accepting a nearly 3% risk of bleeding.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Are your institution's imaging protocols actually ready to support this? Because the data proves the treatment works, but only if your pathway is streamlined enough to confidently find that exact right patient in the middle of the night.